When you start scrolling through the endless listings for a portable CNC cutter, the first thing that hits you is the sheer number of glossy photos and the promise of a workshop-size machine that you can tote around in a pickup. I've been there spending an hour reading specs, watching a couple of YouTube demos, and still ending up with that nagging doubt, will this actually cut the metal I need without turning my garage into a smoke-filled lab? It's a real frustration because a lot of these machines look great on paper but end up being more of a novelty than a workhorse. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So I dug into the community forums, skimmed a few long-form reviews, and even talked to a couple of small shop owners who have tried both plasma and Oxyfuel setups before deciding on a portable unit. The goal here is to help you avoid the mistake of buying a cutter that looks good in the pictures but leaves you with a half-finished project and a stack of extra expenses. Let's start with the basics of what you actually get with this generic portable CNC cutting machine. The unit is built around a 70 cm effective cutting width, driven by an aluminum alloy guide rail that runs along the axis. That rail is the backbone of any CNC system. It determines how straight your cuts stay when you're working on a sheet of steel or aluminum. In real-world terms, that means you can lay out a full-size car panel or a large sheet of stainless for a kitchen hood, and the machine will stay true across the entire width without wobbling. The guide rail isn't the flashiest part, but for anyone who's ever tried to cut a pattern that spans a whole sheet and watched the head drift, it's a quiet game changer. What makes this model stand out is the dual torch configuration. You get a plasma torch with an automatic height controller, the THC upgrade from the older F1620, and a separate flame torch assembly for Oxyfuel cutting. In practice, that gives you two distinct cutting modes in one box. If you're working with thin sheet metal, say 1 mm, mild steel plasma will slice cleanly and quickly, producing a relatively smooth edge that often needs just a light deburr. When you move up to thicker plate, like 12 mm or more, the Oxyfuel torch kicks in, burning through the metal with a controlled flame. The ability to switch between the two without swapping out the whole machine is a huge convenience for hobbyists who jump between projects, and for small shops that need to stay lean on equipment. Now, the software side. The machine comes with StarCAM nesting software on a USB key. It handles DXF files, converts them to code, and even offers basic nesting to optimize material usage. I tested the workflow by taking a CAD drawing of a custom bracket, exporting it as DXF, and feeding it straight into StarCAM. The software parsed the file without crashing, generated a cutting path, and loaded it onto the controller within a few clicks. The nesting feature saved me roughly 12% of material on a batch of 20 brackets, a tangible cost saving when you're buying steel by the pound. It's not a high-end CAD suite, but for a portable unit the integration feels solid enough that you don't have to juggle multiple programs. So, who should actually consider pulling the trigger on this machine? First, think about the scale of your work. If you run a small fabrication shop that does occasional custom metal work, things like decorative metal signage, custom brackets, or low-volume automotive panels, this unit hits a sweet spot. The 70 cm cutting width is enough for most hobby-level projects, and the ability to run both plasma and flame cuts means you won't need to purchase a second dedicated machine. The portable form factor also shines if you travel to job sites or need to share the cutter between multiple workspaces. I've spoken to a mobile art installation crew that uses a similar setup to cut steel frames on site. The fact that the machine fits in a standard van and can be assembled in under an hour is a real advantage. On the flip side, if you're a full-time production shop churning out large volumes of parts, you might run into some limitations. The 70 cm width, while generous for a portable system, can become a bottleneck when you're consistently cutting full-size sheet metal that's 1 mm or larger. Also, the plasma torch's automatic height control is a great convenience, but it isn't as fast or as precise as the industrial-grade THC units you see on high-end CNC tables. In a high-throughput environment where every second counts, that slight lag could add up. Finally, the software, while functional, doesn't offer the advanced nesting algorithms or multi-axis simulation that larger operations rely on for material optimization. If you need tight tolerances down to a few tenths of a millimeter, you might find the machine's positioning a bit too forgiving. Let's talk about the practical strengths that you'll notice right after you unbox the thing. First, the setup is genuinely portable. The frame breaks down.